All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, color me surprised on this one, okay? As fresh off of making their first trip to the Eastern Conference Finals since 2000, the New York Knicks have decided to fire head coach Tom Thibodeau. In 5 seasons as the head coach of the Knicks, Thibodeau's record was 260, 226 rather, and 174. The Knicks made the playoffs in 4 of the 5 years under Thibs, and their record improved over each of the last 3 years. What did Thibs in my opinion? Consecutive losses in the playoffs to the Indiana Pacers, especially this one. And like I said multiple times during the series with the Pacers, and I'm going to say it again right now. New York's front office, Leon Rose and company, put together a team to beat the Boston Celtics, but not Indiana. And it showed up throughout this series. I know some people who are Knicks fans, okay? And you talked, and I don't think they speak for everybody, okay? But you spoke to them during the season. And the whole sentiment was they kept talking about the Boston Celtics. Nobody really talked about the Indiana Pacers. And I feel it was like that within the Knicks organization from an outsider's perspective. And it showed, okay? The Pacers were a bad matchup for the Knicks. The Pacers are a better team than the Knicks, and that is why they are playing for the NBA championship right now and not New York. But nonetheless, you look at Tibbs' time as the Knicks head coach. He gave them something that they did not have in a very long time, which is respectability. Okay. You got to go back to Jeff Van Gundy, who was like the last coach of Knicks, I think back in like 2001 or something like that, to find the last head coach that the Knicks had that lasted at least 5 seasons. Okay. It's been a graveyard for head coaches at Madison Square Garden. Once Jeff Van Gundy left, Don Chaney lasted parts of 3 years. Okay, multiple spots with Herb Williams as the interim head coach. Lenny Wilkins lasted half a season. Larry Brown lasted 1 season. These are Hall of Fame head coaches that I'm mentioning. Okay, Isaiah Thomas and that debacle that was 2 years. Mike D'Antoni lasted 3 plus years. Mike Woodson got 2 plus years. Derek Fisher didn't even make 2 years. Jeff Hornacek got 2 years. David Fizdale didn't get 2 years. And in comes Tibbs, okay, with all of that dysfunction, okay, and found a way to make the Knicks respectable. Only one losing season on Tibbs's watch, and this was a team from 2015 to 2019 lost at least 50 games every single year. Okay, the Knicks don't get to where they've been recently without Tom Thibodeau. Okay, these Knicks and Thibodeau is a part of that. They made going to Madison Square Garden for the Knicks fan base something that was once again memorable in a good way. This was the same Knicks fan base, okay, that 2 weeks ago partied after their team beat the Boston Celtics like they won a championship. We saw, a cascade of fans standing outside of Madison Square Garden, climbing up light poles, you name it. And now, just 3 days after the Knicks season came to an end, they're getting off of their head coach, okay? And going back to the respectability with Tibbs, I talked about the fact that, hey, first head coach to last 5 seasons since Jeff Van Gundy. Also, the first head coach since Pat Riley. And Pat Riley hasn't been the head coach of the Knicks in 30 years to have consecutive 50-win seasons. This was what Tibbs brought to the table. Don't get me wrong. I was not the biggest fan of Tom Thibodeau, okay? But I feel like for the Knicks, this is a bad move and it's a bad look for them, okay? And I've talked about this overall before this season. This is the way that we are seeing head coaches treated right now in the NBA is flat out abysmal. More than ever, it's a players' league. And we've had some of these superstars come out and basically comment in the past they really feel or felt like they really did need a head coach. But you look at the way that quality head coaches, okay, are being treated right now. Tom Thibodeau just got fired after 5 seasons with the Knicks. Mike Malone got fired after leading the Nuggets to a championship just 2 years ago. Mike Budenholzer got fired again, this time by the Phoenix Suns. Taylor Jenkins got fired with a winning record with the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm going to tell you something like this: with the way that these teams are treating these head coaches, I really do think that they need to sit back and look at the two teams that are playing for the NBA championship and the NBA finals. Talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm talking about the Indiana Pacers. Both of these organizations from the top have stability. Okay. They develop their players, they allow their coaches to coach, they give their coaches and their teams opportunities to grow. Look at what Mark Dagnall has done with the Oklahoma City Thunder roster. Of course, Sam Presti has been leading that front office with OKC since the days of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Okay, you look at the Pacers with Rick Carlisle. Okay, a veteran head coach who came in, but they have allowed Carlisle to develop this team, and look at what it has gotten them. You have to have patience. Okay. It's one of those with this Knicks team, they overachieved because I know Knick fans might come out and say, well, we expected to beat Boston. We're going to win an NBA championship. Okay. To me, a lot of that's just hot air, in my opinion, because not too many people out there expected the Knicks to go out there and beat the Boston Celtics, especially after the way that the Knicks looked against the Celtics during the regular season. And of course, the fact that the Celtics were the defending NBA champions. But nonetheless, the Knicks went out there and did it. Okay. And the fact that the Knicks got to the conference finals for the first time in 2000, I think it galvanized this fan base. It galvanized New York City in a way that they had not been galvanized since the Knicks got to the NBA Finals in 1999 when they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. But I look at it like this: um, I think that the Knicks overachieved, in my opinion, this season, and it's one of those where I feel like a lot of us didn't expect them to get past Boston, but clearly the New York front office thinks otherwise as far as them overachieving. I look at this and I'm coming at it from a couple of different directions. I really do think this screams of Knicks owner James Dolan, pushing the panic button. Okay. It also screams of a decision that was already predetermined. Okay. I think anything short of the Knicks winning an NBA championship, and I think Tom Thibodeau, by the looks of things, would have been gone because I feel like this decision was already made. But getting back to James Dolan, I mean, leave it to this petulant child. And yes, he's a billionaire, but in my opinion, he is a petulant child to go out there and tinker with things. All right. You look at where the Knicks have been, okay, for the better part of about 20 years. And they look like they're getting from under things. And then you got to go out there and do this. This right here is a PR nightmare. Okay. If you are the New York Knicks. And this is a team for quite some time, especially the Isaiah Thomas era and the Phil Jackson era, you name it, where the tabloid papers in New York City, they had their field day, okay, criticizing the Knicks. And I guarantee you, tomorrow morning, whether it's going to be the Post, the Daily News, the Newsday, whomever, they're going to have a field day once again. And Leon Rose and company, they're going to have to deal with this because they made their bed on this mess. It's one of those where I'll tell you like this: the New York Knicks organization, they are the Dallas Cowboys of the National Basketball Association. They are popular by name. They have each of them have loyal fan bases, but they don't do things right by their fan bases. And at the end of the day, they have owners who think they know more than what they do. And guess what? It shows. You look at this things, okay, like I said, Tibbs is not perfect. And he wasn't. You know what you're going to get with Tom Thibodeau. He's going to be a guy who overworks his starters. Okay. But with this playoff run by the Knicks, and of course, I said coming in against the Pacers that the bench, they were going to have, a disadvantage against Indiana because Indiana has a deeper team. Okay. Tibbs does not know how to use his bench. That showed up throughout this series, but also the Knicks front office didn't do Thibodeau any favors because they didn't have a good amount of depth coming into the season to begin with. Remember, they gave up DiVincenzo along with Julius Randle to get Karl Anthony Towns. You think about the draft picks and the players that they gave up to the Brooklyn Nets to get Mikal Bridges, about 4 or 5 draft picks, first round picks. And we hear the stuff about Giannis and other guys that the Knicks could possibly go after. How would they like to have all of those assets back right now? Because the Knicks don't have the assets to go out there and get a move like that done. But again, people are quick to blame the head coaches, but at the same time, you've got to turn around and point blame at the front office. And I think in this case right here for the New York Knicks, if you're going to blame Tibbs, you better blame the front office as well, in my opinion. We saw the Knicks struggles defensively against Indiana, especially with transition where they got burned. And of course, again, Tibbs is not a guy to make a lot of adjustments, but to beat a team like Indiana in a 7-game postseason series, the Knicks simply did not have the horses to pull the buggy. That is just my personal opinion on it. Okay. So you look at it and you ask yourself, where do the Knicks go from here? Michael Malone would probably make the most sense. You're talking about a guy who, he just got let go by Denver, just led the Nuggets to a championship 2 years ago. Okay. And I'm sure, he's maybe not itching to get back into coaching, but he's going to get back into coaching and he's going to pick his spots. And you think about it from a sentimental aspect for Michael Malone. He's a Queens guy. Okay, born and bred. His dad, Brendan, was an assistant coach with the New York Knicks for quite some time. He knows his organization. He knows that city like the back of his hand. And I would feel that if Michael Malone would want the job, he'd probably like if the Knicks wanted Michael Malone, he'd probably take the job, and he might be one of the first guys that the Knicks do reach out to. I know some people have thrown out the name of Jay Wright, the former Villanova head coach, and of course, from that standpoint, it would make sense. He coached Brunson, he coached Mikal Bridges, and he also coached Josh Hart to national championships with Villanova. I don't, even with all of that said, I don't think Jay Wright uh, wants to coach in the NBA, and I don't think that he wants to go out there and be the head coach of the New York Knicks. Don't know the man personally. That's just my opinion. And then people are throwing out the name Dan Hurley. Uh, I'm gonna tell you like this: we need to stop with the foolishness. Every time an NBA job, every time a big time college job comes open, that Dan Hurley's going to take it. He said no to Kentucky and um, the Los Angeles Lakers last year. I don't see him leaving Connecticut to come to the NBA and coach the New York Knicks, especially dealing with that front office. You look at the Knicks, and they're just a franchise that simply cannot get out of their way. And I'll tell you like this: I don't think that Tom Thibodeau was going to be the guy that was going to lead this Knicks team to a championship, but the Knicks didn't have a championship team. Let's just say, sake of argument, the Knicks, rallied in that series to beat the Pacers. They weren't going to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's just my opinion. Okay. The Knicks are several pieces away. I feel like, you know, if you're going to keep Carl Anthony Towns is a defensive liability. He always has been throughout his NBA career. That's why the Timberwolves had to go out there and get Rudy Gobert. So if you're going to keep Cat, you've got to go out there and get yourself a defensive big. Mitchell Robinson is a solid big, but I think he's better in a rotation, and I think Mitchell Robinson is better coming off of the bench. Just my opinion. The Knicks lost Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency last summer when he went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, the Knicks weren't going to pay Hartenstein the type of money that he got from OKC. And of course, again, the Knicks were focused on getting wing players because they felt that what they needed to get past the Boston Celtics was more help on the wings. But again, they didn't take care of everything else. But I think the dysfunction is going to be there because you look at it, Jalen Brunson is a star player. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay, he's a leader of this next team. Now, Jalen Brunson could have taken more money. He took less money to allow the Knicks to make moves. Okay, and then Tibbs was his guy at head coach. So what are you going to do about that situation? Like right there, it's one of those where the grass is not always greener. So if you're the Knicks, you better be right about who your next head coach is going to be. And I'll tell you like this, whomever the Knicks hire is going to be in the pressure cooker because you're replacing a guy who just got this team to the Eastern Conference Finals. And clearly, if you're coming in, you're expected to win an NBA championship. And I'll tell you like this, the Knicks, in my opinion, they are a playoff contender, yes, but they are not a championship team, at least with what they have. Now, of course, heading into the summer, people are curious to see if the Knicks are going to be active on the trade front. There are some people who are throwing the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo around from the Milwaukee Bucks. There are some people, and this is only rumors, okay? I'm not saying I know any inside information, but people are saying, Giannis wants to come to New York. If that's true, I'll tell you like this, be careful what you ask for because the pressure in Milwaukee is not going to be what it's like in New York. Giannis, you know, could just play the rest of his career in Milwaukee and they'll build a statue for him there and they'll love him. It ain't going to be the same in New York City because they want you to produce. But I think right here, with what we have seen from the New York Knicks, I think is a classic example of that Big Apple impatience because when people ask you for something, they really wanted it 5 minutes ago. And with this Knicks team, they got better and better and better. And I think front office wise, I think management wise, they believe their own press clippings and they believe that they're better than what they are. That's just my 2 cents for it. Um, it's the Knicks. And I guarantee you, and I know some people may not want to hear this, but the Knicks are going to find a way to screw this up. Okay, they already, in my opinion, screwed up the firing of Tom Thibodeau. It's one of those where if the Knicks hadn't got past Boston, if the Knicks had lost to Detroit in round number one, I would have been all for this move. But I think after you got to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think Tibbs deserved next season. I truly, truly do believe that. And again, you've got to go back and you have to remember what the Knicks were pre Tom Thibodeau. Okay. And now you've got to bring in a head coach that's going to be on the same page with Jalen Brunson. You've got to bring in a head coach who's going to be on the same page with Carl Anthony Towns. And you've got to find a way that's going to go out there and make this work. But again, you look at it with the salaries of Cat, OG Ananobi, Jalen Brunson, Mikhail Bridges, Josh Hart. You're talking about more than $160 million for next season committed to 5 guys. Tom Thibodeau didn't make those moves. Okay. Tom Thibodeau didn't throw out the money. All right. But again, at the end of the day, like so many other quality head coaches in the NBA right now, they are simply being scapegoated. That's just my 2 cents on it. Bad move by the Knicks, bad look by the Knicks. And just when you thought it was safe to come out and rally and change the level of expectations for the New York Knicks, they continue to be the New York Knicks. They will find a way to screw things up. And in my opinion, they just did. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Also, if you are on Instagram, you can check me out at 300 pounds of sports knowledge. And just like it is on the X, you give me that follow and I will give you that follow right back. Also, be sure to check out this channel tomorrow night. I had it ready and I was going to talk about it tonight, but it got pushed back with the surprising news about the Knicks moving on from Tom Thibodeau. But nonetheless, be sure to check out this channel tomorrow evening as I will be giving you my breakdown for the upcoming NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.